Welcome to Season 3 of Malevolent Autopsy. I'm your host, Queen. I use she, her pronouns, and I am so excited to be here with you all. Now, let me warn you, the show contains major spoilers for everything in Malevolent as of the day this episode is published. So, if you're not caught up, I'm not liable. Before we get started tonight, I'd like to ask my lovely co-host, what part of Arthur's body are you betting on getting injured this week?
Howdy, hello, Vol Control here, he, him pronouns. And this week, I'm hoping Arthur's legs don't get injured. We need those gams in working order. It's a good thing he got the new tree body, because we don't have any of those old injuries to act up in the final act.
Well, can you remind our public listeners of the chapter that we just heard?
So, this week's chapter, I tell you what, even while I was listening to it for the first time, I was thinking to myself, how the fuck am I even going to summarize this? And that was before the full musical interlude. I think at this point, I'm just going to give up writing summaries when Kane is involved. But for the public listeners, chapter 297 that we're going to be talking about tonight starts with Kane taking Artie and John to experience his grand design, unending, uninterrupted purpose. Arthur provides his awesome rebuttal, explaining that he doesn't need a god, benevolent, malevolent, or otherwise. Kane does his fake-out surrender to wind up for his unhinged musical number, the obelisk gets activated, and it ends with Kane providing Arthur one last kindness, peace, together with Furrow, at the end of it all. But Arthur won't go quiet into that goodnight. The vote this week is, do we run, or do we stay with Furrow?
Such a crazy ass chapter.
I think I can say with certainty after my third listen, I think this might be my favorite chapter of Malevolent ever.
Giant shock.
Because I just kept making more and more notes to myself about like my favorite parts, and there's so many things that happened that I wanted to touch on, and they're all so different. It's not like one particular theme, it's so many little things.
I can't believe this chapter was only 16 minutes. I don't know how long the final episode of Malevolent Season 6 is going to be, but it's shaping up to be a normal length so far, which is really scary.
Right? But so far, the finale is not going at all the way that I thought it was going to, like, tone-wise. And I'm so happy to be so surprised because we have had such an intense, dramatic couple of seasons now with not a whole lot of levity. I mean, there was Yorick for like comedic relief, but it's been a lot of really hard, really dark stuff. And I should have known if we're getting a lot of Kane at the end.
What do you consider a light season of Malevolent?
We'll see.
I say every season of this show has been dark. It is horror.
Yeah, but the finales are like the finale of season 4 and season 5 that I was like present in the fandom, like listening to it as it came out live, were both like so fraught and dark and like nail biting. And this finale is just a delight, honestly.
I mean, it's still pretty dark. Yeah, we got Kane singing an entire musical interlude, but that is the Kane factor, and I would say that if you removed that element, it's still pretty fucking awful.
I don't know. I'm just so excited. I'm just so excited to see where this goes because it has like constantly surprised me while also satisfying the things that have been set up until this point.
Yeah, I feel so, I mean, we have 3 chapters left to answer all of the questions. Now, I know that not all of them are actually going to be answered, but the number of questions and the number of big things that I do think need wrapping up, I'm so curious as to how this is going to go. I could not predict the next minute of the episode, let alone the ending.
Yeah, absolutely. And that just makes me more and more excited. And I feel like we have reached a new stage in the grief of Malevolent Series 1 ending. in that we've gone from like dreading the finale coming to now that we're in it, we're so fucking pumped about it. Like I feel like there's been so much excitement and not as much dread as there was about it ending leading up to this point.
Yeah, I think people. So Harlan finally said something on Spooky Stream last night about series two, which I don't think was public prior to that.
Yeah, he had to put some thought into whether or not he was going to reveal that.
So I think people are feeling a little bit less depressed about the show ending.
Right.
There are, of course, still the voices that are anxious or upset because of the uncertainty and the unknown. And what if we never see John and Arthur again and all
Yeah.
that, which we've briefly touched on in Autopsy. But you can definitely feel the energy has shifted away so much from harping on the fact that it's almost over to the excitement for what's coming up. And for patrons, we don't get a break.
Yeah.
So there's no pause between the end of series one and the beginning of series two. And that's really exciting for us because we won't have to wait through a period of emptiness. Even if it's not what you personally want it to be, at least you will have content.
Yes.
And that's kind of how I think it's beneficial to see it as like a continuation of the story rather than, the end of one.
Right.
So I with all of that being said, I think it was so fun to have Kane sing an entire 2-minute 30-second song, something like that.
For one, I can't believe Harlan did the full song. For two, I can't believe that it was somehow uninterrupted, but as soon as I had that thought, I realized it's fucking Kane. Of course, if he wants to sing a whole fucking song and he's already killed everyone in the waylay except for the band and John and Arthur, he's gonna sing the whole fucking song.
I mean, personally, I was shocked. It took me a minute to figure out that this was really what we were doing.
Yes, my jaw was on the floor the first time we listened.
I was like, surely any time now he's going to get cut off and something's going to happen. But no, he got to sing his whole song. I have to say that this was one of the moments where I was like, this is why Harlan is, I think, such a unique inspiration to creatives because he truly has never been afraid to do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And he really just said, I want a musical number in my show and I'm going to have it before it ends. And this is how I'm going to make it work. And he just did it. And there was no hedging about, there was no need to build up to the song or have a diegetic reason for it to be in there.
Right.
Like, he just found the character that would sing a musical number. He found a fitting song and he put it in the narrative, and it makes sense and it fits fine. But like, that is so inspiring and cool to me as a person who is very rigid and doesn't think like this is the formula for a podcast. This is how I have to do it. And I can't do everything I want to do because people just don't do that. And Harlan goes, no, you can do whatever you want, actually.
I'm going to do
and
it.
That was like one of the reasons why I think I've been more able to break out of my comfort zone in terms of what I'm willing to do, what I'm able to do, how Autopsy works. And so the song, while I'm not familiar with it prior to this, I don't know the artist, and I believe the artist passed away, and it was a very important homage that Harlan cared a lot about. It was very cool to me to see the rules broken in real time again by a show that is very successful, in my opinion.
Yeah, the artist is Tom Lehrer, and it's super funny because multiple people have associated Tom Lehrer songs with Kane, have them on their Kane playlists prior to this, and so it was just meant to be. But I also wanted to say, you mentioned the lead up to this song, and something that stuck out to me on my second and third re-listen is that Kane does his fake out where he pretends like he's gonna give up, and then he says, "We're gonna do it anyway." And then there's like a moment of silence, and then Kane's like, "That's your cue, boys." He had this entire drama, all this theater planned out exactly like this.
Either that or he was being an intimidating asshole, and they didn't know it was their cue, and he's just like, you should know based on the fact that I'm telling
Obviously,
you right
that's your
now.
cue. Yeah.
Yeah, like when did we come up with that? 5 minutes ago.
Right.
Like, you should have known. Hydra's in the chat says Vol and Queen musical number on Autopsy win, and I just want everyone to know I did sincerely consider rewriting the Autopsy intro to be a musical number,
Queen is so brave.
and Vol just laughed at
Queen
me.
is so brave. She said, I'm gonna work on that, and I was like, I'll leave that up to you.
In other words, you're fucking crazy, you weirdo. I did not do that, but that's because I actually tested it out. And hey, guys, I'm not Harlan and I can't sing. So no one needs to be subjected to that shit. So, like, all that being said, this was such a good chapter. And we have so much to talk about, Vol. There's so much to go over, and we have so many submissions.
I know. So let's get right into it. Queen, what was your carrot this week?
You know what, Vol? We don't need a goal. We don't need to be given a purpose. We don't need carrots or sticks. Life cannot be controlled in that way. It is exactly what you can't comprehend, and everything John learned to understand. That's not what life is. Life exists between the cracks of what you call a grand design, or what I call the deranged ramblings of a malevolent god.
Well, yeah, but we still need a way to talk about our favorite moments in the chapter.
That's a fair point. But I can't believe Arthur threw out the carrot and stick in the final episode.
Thanks, Arthur.
Well, some of us need carrots and sticks and purpose and stuff, okay? God. I'm not changing everything up at the fucking final stretch of Autopsy. Absolutely not. So, anyway, my carrot was purpose. And I'm going to read out some of the quotes that I want to talk about. That sense of belonging, as if a part of an organ fulfilling the needs of an endless wall of flesh, pulsing and beating as blood flows through you against the infinite tapestry of stars. You know you are part of something, an intricate piece. How many mouths are unfed in this world? How many terrible families leave their children orphans? That petty drudgery, that day-to-day nonsense, it's gone here. All you have in my dream is unending, uninterrupted purpose. Now tell me, doesn't that feel amazing? And you guys...
Bars.
You guys, the way Kane was like, Queen, you specifically have a dream of not needing to worry about your purpose in this world, and like being able to rid yourself of the anxiety of the meaning of things and the finite nature of life. Would you like to take my hand and join the dark side? And I said, yes, I absolutely would, actually. Go ahead and nuke it all, baby. I will take the wager. I am obsessed with this portion of the chapter and Kane's explanation of his vision even further beyond what we were already given. Because even when I was saying, like, yeah, he has the point, and I love being able to see his perspective, this really doubled down in the true appeal of what Kane wants. And I think it's beautiful that Arthur points out, like, Kane cares so much that he wants to fix it. And I can't relate to anything harder. I see a need, and I so desperately want to fill it. I see where things could be better, and I want to go in there and fix them and help and make things better. But that's not always possible. It's not always right. It's not always my place. And it's very hard to swallow that, like, that's not the point of a lot of things is to be imperfect.
Right.
Not every system needs to be maximal efficiency. And what you think is helpful can sometimes be harmful, or it can suck the meaning out of
Yeah, what
things.
what seems like it's for the greater good may not actually be for the greater good. There's sort of a Kantian dilemma here where it's like, would that actually cause the greatest amount of pleasure or absence of pain for the greatest amount of people, but at what cost? At what individual cost?
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny. On a much smaller scale, I was just talking to you about this personally. I really struggled this year at Christmas with giving gifts because it finally has dawned on me that some of my desire to give gifts and give gifts appropriately is selfish. It
Mm,
comes from a desire to have like do things the way I want them done. For example, I get very fussy about you can't know what I'm going to get you before I get
right.
it for you. I don't like it when I have to ask you questions or like if I don't know what size shirt you wear, I don't want to ask you because then you're going to know I'm going to get you clothes and
Right.
that ruins it. But the point shouldn't be about how I feel about getting you a gift and what your reaction is to fulfill that part of me that wants that validation, that praise, that good feeling. It should be about getting you something that you like and want and use. And if I have to ask you questions about that and it doesn't ruin your enjoyment of the gift giving process, it should be fine. But I really struggle with not doing things the way I perceive they should be done, regardless of how that outcome may affect other people. And if it's really truly the thing that they also want, because I just think this is the way I would want it done. And so surely everybody likes it this way. And it's so
Right,
hard
right,
to
right.
accept
Right.
that.
It's very Cain of you. It's
Yeah.
very Cain of you where it's like, I this is what I want, so obviously this is what everyone wants. But I also think that it's not necessarily selfish that you want to give a good gift in the way that feels right to you. It just may be misguided. Maybe you need to reframe that perspective a little bit. And I loved how Arthur did that, where he took all of Cain's arguments and explained that indifferent God isn't a god. It's not worthy of that title. And I loved how he came upon the realization that Cain is, a perfect example of a god that cares. And I love
Yeah.
I love that nuanced interpretation of Cain as this villain, but also as this god that cares so much that he would rather give everyone purpose than to see people struggle to find that on their own.
I have to say, like, the idea of being like, if I could put myself on top of the world and observe humanity across all of time, eventually I would get to a point where I go, you know what, guys, the I care so much about you, and I'm watching you suffer and struggle every day and die, and all this horrible stuff is happening. It's just going to keep going. And there's really no point in putting you through this torture for lifetimes upon lifetimes. We're just going to start over. And this time you don't get autonomy because you'd be happier without it. I can
Right.
fully see
Yeah.
how you get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah, and as someone who was raised as an atheist and who never really vibed with religion, who never had a relationship with any kind of God, it didn't really resonate with me. It's so cool to hear Arthur talk about that and not dismiss it out of hand. He's trying to explain to Cain that an indifferent God isn't it's not even worth acknowledging, and that it, it it's part of the human condition to find purpose and not to be handed it. And as someone who has never vibed with that idea that that God can be your purpose, it was really cool to see that displayed here from Arthur in what I felt like was a very logical and respectful way.
Yeah, I did not feel like the point of this was religion sucks,
No.
fuck religion. It was very much giving the perspective of all of humanity, because I think even if you have a faith, even if you have something that you ascribe to in that realm, any kind of spirituality, you can definitely, you have the human perspective of there is more to life than what you think there should be. Like, no one person gets to decide what makes this life worth living. And that could be God, it could be family, it could be anything. But the point is that you decide that for yourself. And, it just how happens that large groups of people decide on spiritual
Yeah,
guidance, and that's called religion,
right.
and that's okay too. And I really liked that it did not feel like a disrespect of religion and Malevolent.
And it didn't feel like a lecture. It didn't feel like a lecture.
No,
Yeah.
no, it was a great perspective, and I think it was a wonderful reflection of humanity, and I hope that people quote this forever in their papers, because it's truly written so beautifully and succinctly in such a short exchange. It's gorgeous. And God, I could go on forever and ever about, like, the concept of Cain believing that this is an act of not just mercy but love, because he sees that very immature desire to make people happy above all else, and thinking that your desire to make them happy absolves you of any wrongdoing. Like, yes, I think this is love because I just want you to be happy no matter what. But the person's telling you, hey, I would rather have times where I can be sad and be free rather than permanently happy. And that doesn't seem to compute to Cain.
Yes. Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it. And I found it very interesting that I came upon the thought that Kane's purpose right now is out of a desire to change the lack of purpose that he feels exists in the world. But in doing so, he creates a blanket sense of purpose with zero individuality. And
Yeah.
man, we could dissect Kane for hours.
Yes, yes. Vol, what was your carrot?
Oh man, I had so many, but one of the lines that stuck out to me the most at the beginning of the episode, before we got into all of that, that stuck out to me the first listen, and every time I heard it, it just itched my brain in just the right way. When Kane says, so Arthur is arguing like, oh, but Azathoth's indifference allows for the happy moments, for the laughter of a child, for, a warm welcome on a cold day. And Kane's response is, he's not the reason for them, but he does hold the blame. And not only is that line really interesting, it's the word choice. Like, he's not the reason for them, but he is the blame. The blame for the happy things as well as the sad things. I find that word choice so interesting, and it's very telling of this deep-seated, long-held anger and frustration towards Azathoth's indifference, and it makes me crazy. It makes me crazy.
I honestly could not understand that line the first time I heard it,
Hmm.
and I still struggle a little bit between the difference between reason and blame.
Right. Like, it's that he did not cause those things to happen, but it is still because he is dreaming this existence, he is to blame for everything that happens in it. Does that make sense?
So, kind of like if I were to say, it's not my mom's fault that I didn't get my full 8 hours of sleep last night, but like she didn't directly cause it, but because she birthed me, it is her fault. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, but
kind of like everything that happens to you in your life is technically your mom's fault because she gave birth to you. Is that what we're saying?
yeah, but then Arthur's counter argument is that that's like saying that he's to blame. He's the father of an apple tree from a forgotten seed or something, and it kind of gets watered down. The blame kind of gets watered down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But I also big moment for me was Kane's fake out. Oh man, I love a dramatic pull the rug from out from under you fake out, even when you know this can't, this can't, this can't be where this is really going.
It was paced out so well
Yes.
that I almost bought it.
Harlan played it out so fucking funny. His comedic timing with the editing it together is so fucking good. The way Arthur's like, is that it then? And
Yeah.
Kane's like, yep,
And
go home.
he's like, I want to be alone. And Arthur's like, oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Fucking like leaving a kid alone who is feeling a little emo and wants to blast some My Chemical Romance.
Yes.
Like, it was so just like, okay, sweetie, take your time.
Oh my God. It was so, like, honestly, that is one of the reasons that this is becoming my favorite episode of Malevolent. I mean, we get like a theological debate. We get this temptation of uninterrupted, unending purpose. And then we get this just drama queen fake out and top it off with a musical number. I mean, holy shit.
I honestly, you guys, if Harlan wasn't so into horror, I'd be like, you need to redo Malevolent the whole 6 seasons as a comedy because it gets so close sometimes. It's like 2 inches away from being hysterical.
Honestly.
What was your stick?
Oh, no stick. There's no stick this week. Nope, sorry.
You have to have
Nope,
a stick.
I don't.
You have to have
I
a
don't
stick.
have one. I don't have one. And Arthur said that we didn't need them, so I don't have one.
Oh my God. You stubborn brat.
No, I don't have a stick this week because I am just excited about where this is going. There is no sense of dread in me. There is nothing that I don't want. There's no stone I don't want uncovered right now. I am sat. I'm so ready. No sticks.
So you don't feel any dread about any part of Malevolent right now?
No, I don't.
You're insane. So my stick was, I want you two to watch it all from here. At peace, you deserve that much, Artie, because I don't buy that. I know people are like, I believe that was genuine, but I don't buy that shit.
You don't buy that? Oh man. It took me everything not to call that moment Kane's last love letter to Arthur.
He truly thinks there's nothing else Arthur can do. He's about to go talk to his dad. Like, to me, he's fully rubbing it in Arthur's face.
Oh, I don't. I mean, I see where you're coming from. I do see where you're coming from, but I just love the idea that Kane would do something conventionally kind to Arthur in the end.
I don't think so, only because I still don't know why Kane is lured to Arthur so much, other than the fact that Lilith chose him. And I don't think it's personal. I think I'm also very reluctant to think that Kane could do anything genuinely sentimental that has no ulterior snark.
Yeah.
I have a hard time with that.
I believe you, but as a person who writes a lot of I would say arguably evil characters who have the capacity within them for being genuine and being earnest when it serves them, when it suits them, I can see the capacity in Kane to be earnest at some point.
I just can't. I can't imagine that like a genuine act of love or sentimentality from Kane would come in a moment of desperation, not in a moment of I won and I'm going to be nice about it anyway.
Interesting.
That's just how I feel about it though. So we have so many things to cover with these voice subs and with the poll and everything. I know that we have some submissions that just talk about the episode and not about the vote. So what say we begin with those?
Let's do.
Hello, Autumn here, and I'm scared. Call me the Prophet of the King, OC reference, because not only did I jokingly beg for the next 8-ball to be Kane singing, I have also just finished an arcane animation to another Tom Lehrer song. Your hand in mine if you're curious. Me and Harlan really are on a safe wavelength, I swear to God. Anyway, chapter talk though. I'm so insane, actually. I love the idea that Adathos isn't a god. He just is. He is the universe, debatably conscious of thing his own right. And to quote the one and only Bob Ross, the universe is just a happy little accident. But Kane can't accept the lack of purpose that comes with it. This circles back to what I was saying last week. Before his existence was aimless, once the novelty of reality wore off, there was nothing to capture him. Cain has dedicated himself so completely to killing Azathoth because it's the only thing keeping him present. That, and of course, his obsessing with Zartha. The point of killing Azathoth is to simply fulfill the purpose he laid out for himself, and he doesn't truly care for the aftermath, even if he tries to convince himself otherwise. It may appear that Cain cares, that he wants everyone to have a purpose, but it's not because he cares about the individuals. He is projecting his own dissatisfaction and yearning for more onto others. He wants the universe, Azathoth, to care about him instead of facing the fact that things just happen, and he's not a father in the way that humans understand the term. It's daddy issues all the way down with this podcast, and apparently Eldritch gods aren't immune to it, the intricacies of human relationships. It makes you wonder when they started caring about each other in such a human way. Cain's lack of true concern for the fate of reality is most clearly seen in how he's so willing to kill Azathoth, even when there's no chance of him surviving. Because he hasn't really thought about what would happen should he succeed. Sure, there'll be eternal joy or whatever he's spouting, but eventually happiness loses meaning in its overabundance, and he will once again be trapped in a reality that reflects his apathy, but this time there'll be no one to kill other than himself. Okay, Cain essay done. You can be sure there'll be more because these last few chapters are a veritable goldmine for me. Anyways, have a good autopsy.
Thank you, Autumn, for your submission. I knew that you would have something to say, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think that you hit on such a good point. I mean, it's the obvious fallacy of Cain's plan, Cain's desire. Like, if it feels like he's doing this because he is bored, or he's like tired of not being acknowledged, or he's tired of the indifference. But I have to say that I think that unending pleasure and purpose eventually does become boredom or indifference, because if there's no contrast to the pleasure, how is that different than indifference? And it's
how, but my question about that is, if Cain's design is for everyone to be unified and experience only pleasure, would they even be capable of experiencing boredom or discontent? Would you even, I think his vision ensures that never happens.
But even for him?
I don't know about him.
Right.
I'm just specifically was thinking like, I think it might become a self-destructive thing.
Absolutely.
Because if he doesn't implement himself into that, I guess I'm just going to call it a hive mind for lack of a better term,
yeah.
Then he eventually is going to say, okay, everyone's happy now what?
He said it was a wall of flesh, actually. It's not a hive mind.
I'm aware what he said was actively avoiding having to say it like that.
If somebody in the chat had to remind me of that under the beautiful soundscaping during Cain's vision, there's an undercurrent of roiling flesh, then I'm sorry. I'm going to make it everybody else's problem.
I don't like that. Oh, I don't like that. I think it's fascinating to try and comprehend things that are clearly impossible / we will never be able to, because I do think that there is something to the theory that if you only give, if you built let's just pretend this is oh my God, I'm scared to even say this because watch it happen in my lifetime.
Oh boy.
Pretend you build a robot that's only capable of feeling happy.
Mm-hmm.
Are they ever going to be bored? Are they ever going to be sad? No, because you've only made them able to feel happiness. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if if they could even fathom in this universe what they're missing out on. Like, do you miss something you never know existed?
Right. But yeah, like Fractal says in the chat, happiness also means nothing if there is no contrast. So it's an interesting philosophical argument, and I do think that it hinges on what Cain experiences in this vision of his, because can you be the creator of unending purpose and happiness if you don't have a framework within to put that within? And does that framework inherently have to contain the opposites of those things that you have to like protect people from experiencing? It just where are the edges of the universe?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Before we move on, I just wanted to say, Autumn, congratulations on calling the Kane singing Lair. That's awesome that you made an animatic before. Not to this song, but any Lair, really. That's awesome.
Taliesin, he, him. There are 50 million things I could say about this chapter, but one thing that strikes me the most is how Kane says John's name when he shows them his plans for the world. For starters, he actually says John and not one of his multitude of nicknames, and he says it so softly, so earnestly. We talk plenty about how Kane's apparent hatred for John seems to stem from the fact that he knows they're similar and should be equals, but he believes John to be lesser because he chose humanity. The fact that they're similar has bugged Kane, but now he's relying on it. He's quietly pleading to the one person he knows above all else should understand him, and for once, John's humanity and need to fit into that mold should benefit him here. I just love that we've seen him hate John for so long, but now here he is so desperate to be understood that he's even reaching out to John for kinship. And whether Kane realizes it or not, he and John are even more similar than he'd ever cared to admit. All his years of walking among humanity has changed him, led him to have this vision of a world where no one goes without. He has undergone the exact same arc as John, just over millennia instead of roughly a year. And unlike John, he digs his heels in when faced with that realization.
Thank you, Taliesin, for your submission. I particularly love the idea of Kane and John being the same journey with different outcomes.
Yes.
I love that trope in fiction, period.
Yes.
I do think, though, that John's experience is unique because Kane has never experienced anything like John's.
Yo, Kane has never experienced unconditional love.
And Kane has never been under the constraints that John has been forced into.
Right.
I mean, John and Arthur started out as enemies and they were trapped together.
Right.
Kane has never experienced that. And I think Kane's lack of, the lack of restriction put on Kane is one of the things that I think makes him so unhappy. And I know that's antithetical to what he says, because just earlier he was talking about art and how he
feels limited to a certain palette.
Feels limited. But he's not.
Right.
And I think that's truly what Kane craves is limits.
I've been going over old transcripts and picking out like special quotes and things, and I've been circling around a lot of John's conversations he's had over the seasons about his relationship with his identity, with his past, and just gotten to the part, episode 43, The Witch, and saw how John talks about how he used to be limitless. He used to be so powerful and, he could do anything at his whim. And now he is so limited, and how that has helped shape his perspective. And so that's so interesting to think about what Kane considers being limited versus what John has experienced, and how that ended up with two different outcomes.
Right, because I also think there is something very different from observing humanity's struggles and strife and understanding where they're coming from as an observer, and personally having an experience with it the way John has, that Kane just hasn't been able to bridge. He's never been trapped that way. And because of his station as the god that he is, he won't be, he can't be, as far as we know. But I think that you are right in that Kane and John have very similar trajectories. Then they both came to a completely different decision, which is I have very few limits on my power, and I'm going to use that to create happiness, versus John, who wants to work within the limits to make the world better.
And to find his own, to make his own happiness.
Yes. And that's a completely different trajectory. But the fun thing is, Arthur, John, and Kane all want the same thing.
Right.
They're just totally opposite in the way they're trying to do it.
Yeah.
Hello, it's Spade. This is a fun and terrifying chapter. I liked it. I've been liking a lot of chapters recently. a lot of musicals going on for this episode. We have this one, the All Together When We Go, and the first one when Cain walks out. He does favor musicals, I've noticed. I have a few things I want to mention. Firstly, All Daddy Issues starts with Cain and Azathoth. It always has. It all goes back to that. And I've always found it interesting the way Cain talks about the reality he wants, the reality he desires to create. He first labeled it as endless joy in the wager. Joy for everyone, real joy that has meaning. Now he says he wants purpose, and a lack of seemingly indifference, because that is what makes him different. He is indifferent. He cares. Potentially cares so much that he believes that reality, the current one, to be wrong. And then no matter what, it needs to go. Doesn't matter if there's one after it. He hates it. He's tired of it. It's a canvas he can't do what he wants on. And he wants to fix that. And I wonder if that's what he likes about Arthur so much, is that Arthur is the opposite of indifference. Arthur is the humanity, the good and the bad. And he is not indifferent, like how Cain isn't indifferent. And that is all. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Spade, for your submission.
I think that's such a good point, that it's Arthur's his growth into a lack of indifference that draws Cain in. And I do wonder if that's part of his allure to Cain.
Yeah, definitely. I think Cain sees Arthur care in the same way he cares, but he's like, Arthur's so human and limited that he doesn't know how to fix this.
Right.
And
I can show
I know
him.
how, and I can. Yeah. Well, we have a few more voice submissions, but they talk about the vote, which this week is Run versus Stay. Right now on a Saturday night, we are at 491 votes total, with 98% of people voting Run and 2% of people voting Stay. Vol, how are you voting?
Wow. I'm voting Run. Absolutely.
Me too. I will say this was not ever close. Everyone kind of immediately did this, piled on. Very tiring for me to have an all people agree vote.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sending you my condolences in this trying time.
Thank you. Thank you. I do think this is the right option. I, however, have reached my full arc as a character in the fandom, and I have finally understood that there is a point to those folks who always will vote for the minority vote, because it's not about certainty.
Yeah.
I don't want us to be at 100%. That means it wasn't worth considering. It wasn't worth a vote.
Sure. Yeah.
I said in the chat, if we get too close to being 100%, I will flip, and I will try to get people to flip, because I think it's more meaningful to not 100% anything. I feel very strongly about that now.
That's
Surprise.
crazy. I thought we were just talking about how Cain said, and next time I ask you, you better be 100%. And we were like shaking in our boots about, oh my God, we're going to have to 100% a vote. And now this? Who are you? What's happening?
I think it would be fun to try for that outcome. I don't think our ability to 100% it will change anything. Like, I don't think we're going to get punished if we can't do it. But this is the closest I think we've ever come since the podcast went out of double digits for listeners.
Oh,
so
for sure.
This is very cool.
Yeah, I think the other closest one was one of the witch votes, which was, John becoming whole or becoming entirely his own. And that was like a slam dunk.
Yeah, I think this one was really easy for people because without Arthur giving us that clue, we probably actually would have had a debate. But I think because of Arthur being the one to talk about this and the importance of this and his memory, it was kind of really easy to go, okay, you have some idea of what we're supposed to be doing? All right, we'll go with you.
Unless you remember a voice memo that Rose sent us a few weeks ago. I don't think it was last week, but it was recently, where Rose outlined every single time we heard Faro's voice and mentioned this specific instance. So,
And I will also say, fun little behind the scenes trivia fact is that when part 19 came out, Marie was not born yet, I think.
correct.
And Harlan has now gone back and put her adorable little voice in part 19. So it's worth going to listen to if you haven't, just to hear the new baby sound.
I believe he has gone back and recut all of the little Faro voices so that it's now Marie's voice throughout the show.
I believe that is correct.
I know for sure for part 19, but I want to say that I saw him say that he had gone ahead and edited all of them.
Yeah, and so that is, like, just for everyone listening, that is Harlan's actual daughter.
Yeah.
So it's very specifically meaningful and special.
Yeah.
So with this vote, there was not a lot to talk about. There were a lot of merits to discussing both sides because it was so deeply one-sided. However, we did still get some submissions, so let's play those now.
Hello, autopsiers. Gogoat here. Any pronouns? Okay, so most of my notes for this chapter were mostly just, what do we do? What do we do? On repeat. So I'm going to try and do my best to make any of that make sense. Look, I kind of see the appeal of Cain's plan, but also isn't the ups and downs part of the joy of life? Life, give me life and all that. This one has its own joy and whimsy. Worry about making your own meaning later. No one needs to give that to you. As for Azathoth, if he is everything, isn't he also kind of nothing? He's an energy source, at best, the cause of one big, beautiful, happy accident. He's called the idiot god for a reason. He doesn't do anything. Back to Cain. He craved the unity in his world would give, even if the only attainable way to do that is in death. Actually, not even death. Complete oblivion. Well, what's the difference between that and infinity? Complete eradication is close enough. Okay, vote talk real quick. I want to give him Faro so bad. John wants him to be with her too. Time and time again, she's been dangled in front of Arthur so many times. But we can't. We don't need any carrots. We have a job to do. Okay, bye-bye, autopsiers.
Thank you, Gogoat, for your submission.
Gogoat really said no more carrots. Damn. We're gonna have to figure out what are we gonna do? What would we do other than carrots and sticks?
You know, Harlan is king of break the rules and do whatever you want, and damn it, I'm keeping carrots and sticks. At least until we change autopsy completely for series 2.
Yeah. I also wanted to shout out Gogoat for mentioning one of Azathoth's titles, which is the Idiot God, which we talked about like way back in season 5. And, I think that not everybody remembers all of his different titles when we were trying to like suss out like what was Cain's grand plan with Azathoth and all of this. And I love that Idiot God is canonically, not malevolent canonically, but in the mythos, canonically one of the titles.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Misra says, get deified, idiot.
Idiot.
Hi, Autopsy, Rose of Envy, she, her, and what do you know? My ramblings from a couple weeks ago have finally come to fruition, so if you weren't on that autopsy, I put a little voice memo in about the moments that Fro has spoken to us, or we perceived that she was speaking to us. Part 19, Part 23, and Coda, those were the 3 moments that I noticed specifically, because each of the voices of Fro were a little bit different, and could be found in Meaning in Nothing, but it was one of those I did a quick analysis on, goodness, a while ago now, but Part 19, of course, is what we are worrying about right now, because Arthur's having a dream. In this dream, there is waves crashing, there are seagulls crying, and then there's a girl who tells him to run. And the voice of that girl is a little bit older. I would say definitely not toddler age, definitely not Fro as we think she died age. And I cannot remember the last time I participated in Poll Mine, but I immediately went and said, hey, Fro said in the dream we need to run, we gotta run. And then Harlan comes in and says, someone needs to go check Spotify. He changed the intro to Part 19 to be Marie's voice. So if you have not gone back and listened, oh my gosh, it's precious. Please do. But it's just little details like that are one of the reasons I love this podcast. Also, the fact that we just got a musical episode, so fitting for Kane. Wonderful, wonderful song, and so well done. Of course, I am sad by the show ending. We're getting closer and closer every week, but I am so excited to see how it all finishes out.
Thank you for your submission, Rose.
I remember seeing Rose like first person posting in the poll mines, like maybe the third message right after everybody had finished listening to the chapter, and it was great seeing you back in the poll mines, Rose.
Hi guys, this is Friska Friskito, she, her. Hello! Arthur, run! Oh my god, run! The only reason you should be staying is if Kane is planning another musical number. Like, the panic in Arthur's voice was more than enough to convince me. But I did go back to listen to part 19, and, like, yeah, Pharaoh's voice and perhaps multiple distorted seagulls? No, thank you. I don't think we'll ever get 100% vote, nor that this was where we would have needed one. But this is pretty darn close, I think. That's amazing. Aside from that, Tom Lehrer in my podcast, hello? I already told so many people in the Patreon chat about this, but there was like a split second right after Kane said we'll all go together when we go, and I was like, oh, Tom Lehrer reference, that's neat. Wait a minute. The best part is I got to watch Patreon friends also react to this in real time, and I got to see the exact same expressions of, he wouldn't, followed by the sheer delight of, he did! God, what a great episode. The musical numbers, sure, but like, also, there's like the beginning part where like Kane shows Arthur the stars maybe, but to me it sounded more like neurons firing. And we have Pharaoh in the same space as Arthur. And yeah, like, okay, I am still terrified. I hope they will be fine. I am sure the king or Yellow will be able to help somehow. I hope, perhaps, perchance. Anyway, bye.
Thank you, Friska, for your submission. And man, you hit the nail on the head, because people were saying, oh, the star sound effects. And I was too embarrassed to admit that I definitely thought it was like neurons firing.
Yeah.
And people were like, oh, the star sound effects is like, oh yeah, stupid ass me thinking it was neurons. How silly. And then you said exactly what I had thought. And so now maybe I'm not stupid.
No, especially, yeah, everybody in the chat is going crazy about that imagery, and I lost my mind about that. I thought that was such a cool connection, because it totally is, and I think it is both like the stars, the cosmos, like this unified universe, but also the imagery of like neurons firing. You know, this big massive meat is a big giant brain. I love that.
Well, yeah, because if we are all in Azathoth's dream, that is effectively the same thing. I mean, the stars, everything around us is just neurons firing in Azathoth's brain.
Yeah.
Crazy, amazing.
I think it's really interesting that Friska also mentions that maybe the king / Yellow might be able to help them in the end. I am really curious. I'm really curious.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Our next submission is an email, and it says, hi, Autopsy, it's Fractals. It's, and AM pronouns. For the vote this week, I'm with the majority. We run. My only hang-up is the fact that Kane says that Arthur has been on this beach before. Is he talking about the dream? Does he know what Pharaoh told Arthur? Could he be using this against Arthur? I'm hoping it's not something to worry about. Now for some Kane talk. I kind of want Kane to get what he thinks he wants. I think that it might be that the only way for him to realize that it's this world that he cares about. The world he wants to make may be perfect, but is also devoid of anything of humanity that Kane loves. Arthur is right that Kane is the closest to a proper god this world has. But if he wants to take Azathoth's place and remake the world, he'll have to destroy the very thing he's trying to help. Also, Arthur's whole theology speech was amazing. The idea that all existence is an accident really affirms the idea of finding your own meaning in life, and does a great job of reflecting our reality where we don't truly know how or why existence exists. Bye!
Thank you for your submission, Fractals. I love that you admit I kind of want Kane to get what he thinks he wants, because that there is so much a part of me that's like, I want you to see for yourself that this doesn't go the way that you think it's going to go.
Right. Exactly. And it brings up a really good point about how is Is Cain talking about the dream? Is the dream a memory? Did that actually happen? Does Cain know that Pharaoh told Arthur to run? Oh, my brain. I can't start spiraling about the what ifs there, but they're very good what ifs.
Pi, she, her. Cain doesn't use portals. He used one once to take the boys to England, but there wasn't one used in Intermezzo. They're not a requirement to travel between universes. And he's not going somewhere between universes either. The obelisk is too close for Lilith's comfort. This world has some serious power after Shub blinked out of existence. The final key being played is Middle C. He wanted this big movie moment. He had to give at least one last choice. He still needs him. The Blackstone never reacted to blood despite being carried inside of a person. But Antoine was covered in magical tattoos, which could have been to keep him alive while he had made room for an ostrich egg-sized rock in his chest cavity, or it could have been to mitigate the Blackstone's influence. While the container is sealed, it would remain safe and unreactive. When the seal was broken, Arthur was the only human around. Now maybe the Blackstone just doesn't react to human blood the way the obelisk does, but what would make someone immune from Azathoth's influence? Being unique, having no other version of yourself. What task did Cain put John up to in the dark world?
Thank you, Pi, for your ominous as ever submission.
Talk about spiraling with so many what ifs. Oh man. It wasn't even vote talk. I just had to put it at the end because I knew that I was just gonna blue screen when I listened to it again.
I feel like for the first time I blacked out during Pi's voice submission because there's so many questions there that I'm like, that's not my problem. I don't fucking know. I have no idea, Pi. Buddy, my brain is 3 million miles away. All of those questions feel so above my pay grade. I just want to know, like, what's going to happen, or when we run. Is Arthur running toward the portal? Is he running into the ocean? Is he running in the opposite direction of the void? Like, I don't even know what direction this man's running in.
Can you imagine if Arthur just runs into the sea like the kangaroo meme, or the like horse into the ocean meme?
Yes, the man meme. Arthur just standing there staring out at the water. Yeah, like there's only 3 chapters left. There's only 3 chapters left, and this was 15 minutes. I am gonna be shocked if the next 2 chapters at least aren't broaching 30.
Right. Pi, I wasn't even thinking about the fact that Cain was using like a visible, quote unquote, stable portal instead of just like zapping himself out of existence. And I think that you make a good point that it was a portal, because I feel like the sound effects were different. We were all kind of scratching our heads over some of the portal sound effects right at the end. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that
I just
means.
figured it was one of those things that's unique to Azathoth.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I would have, I guess this is my brain trying to seek patterns and make things make sense that don't make sense. But my first instinct thought trying to make this work was Azathoth is a deity that we can't even conceive of. And it's not as simple as transport or movement to anywhere else. Cain has to kind of show the limit of his power by kind of like the idea of a god can zap around anywhere, but when it gets to approaching a god that's at a higher tier, he's forced to take the stairs.
Right. Well, Pi clarifies that Cain is not going to Azathoth, that he's going to the obelisk, which I also think that he is going to the obelisk. I don't know where he's going, because I thought that talking with Dad meant he was going to Azathoth, not to the obelisk.
Yeah, because I don't know. We don't know what happens. Like, we don't know if Cain gets all his shiny rocks together and then a big blast of light goes off and the world ends, or like, we don't know what exactly is going to happen, what it looks like, what the physical act is gonna be. Does it need blood? Like,
Yeah.
I'm just saying we know so little.
Damn, rock collection's so good, so rare, it ends the world.
So, like, we don't know what it looks like. We don't know where Kane's going, and we know he said he's going to talk to Dad. Does that mean he's going to the threshold?
Right. We don't know. We don't know.
We don't know.
And
we don't know.
God, Pi, I made notes about your voice submission because there were so many different things you touched on, and the other thing that you touched on was the possibility that Arthur was immune to the Blackstone because he's unique. And then Mizra mentioned in the chat that in Intermezzo, Arthur says, I thought you said I was unique. And Kane says, oh, you have no idea. Not yet. I am wondering, is he really the last Arthur left?
I think he is. I know everyone's like, oh, we don't have evidence of that or whatever, but I thought the implication was pretty clear. I know very literally the podcast has not said he is the last Arthur Lester, but I mean, last unicorn, last Arthur Lester.
Oh, that's the most obvious tell right there.
Yeah. But I mean, the other thing is that, like, the whole thing we found out is why not Arthur? Like, he's not supposed to be special. So I do think the only thing that could make him special would be the last of him.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we have been wondering.
Because he's not special.
Yeah. But if he's unique because he's the only one left, that would be thematically very, very resonant with what's going on.
Especially because, I mean, you get no second chances. You get no do-overs.
Right.
This is the one life you have and all that shit. So, I don't know. We'll see. And I do think that Arthur, like, it's very interesting the way that the ending is shaking out to be, like, Arthur on a beach. And there were lots of moments with beach sound effects in Malevolent. And I'm very curious to know where this whole prison pits thing comes from. Man, there's just too many threads that are open and not enough time to close them all. I'm fascinated by what we might get. I'm also hoping that maybe this portal goes to the threshold and Arthur is running toward it and gonna jump through it, and maybe things will happen at the threshold.
Maybe. I think that the threshold has got to come up in the finale. I think it's got to.
I fucking hope so. I
just want to close out with one more really funny little in-joke that will be lost to the sands of time. So on no vote weeks in the poll mines, we sometimes joke about, I can't remember who made the initial joke, but they joked that if we did get a beach episode, that the beach episode would be like the choice between enjoying the beach or no, what was it?
I'm gonna search it right now.
Crawling through barbed wire versus something else.
Yep, it was Amanda the Cryptid who said Harlan's going to be so sick of ties that the next poll option are going to be let Arthur and John relax on the beach, or make Arthur crawl naked through razor sharp barbed wire. And that was on March of 2025, March 8th.
And part of the joke was that, yes, we would still find some way to debate over it and to end up tying it somehow. And
absolutely.
And so on this vote week where it was so one-sided, there were lots of jokes bringing that back, talking about, we did finally get our beach episode, and guess what? We're choosing to run through barbed wire.
Yeah, HD said, oh, finally a beach episode versus that beach is obviously a trap. We have to go through the razor wire.
And what do you know? Prophetic words that we're learning something. We're learning something on this podcast. Maybe by the end we'll actually know how to vote properly.
Yeah, agree. So I think that's it for tonight. Thank you guys so much for coming. Really appreciate you. We almost hit 20 in the chat tonight. Appreciate all of the friends we've made along the way.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, of course, to Harlan Guthrie, the sole creator of Malevolent. Without his labor of love for a story he wants to tell, we wouldn't be here. To join the live recording, submit your own message, get in touch with me, and more, visit linktree/Malevolent Autopsy. The official Invictus Discord server is open to the public and includes a channel just for Malevolent Autopsy fans. We also have our own private, patrons-only channel. Finally, thank you to Mizra, Nikki, Vol Control, and everyone who has helped create and maintain Malevolent Autopsy. These friends are also volunteers who donate time and energy to help put together this love letter to Malevolent. Remember, in the end, it's never about certainty. It's about making a choice and moving forward. The horrors persist,
But so do we.